Welcome back to the Isn't That Rich podcast. I'm your host, Jill Franks.
And I'm your host, Ashley McVicker.
And most of us have heard about retirement accounts like a 401k or an IRA. But what happens to those accounts when someone passes away? So today we're going to talk about inherited IRAs when they come into play. And if you're a beneficiary on a retirement account, there are rules about how and when you can take that money out. And those rules have kind of changed this year or came into play this year.
To walk us through what's changing, what it means, and what you can do about it, we're joined by John Forbes with Forbes Financial Group. John works every day with individuals and families on retirement and legacy planning, and he's here to help us make sense of all of these rules.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
So welcome back, John.
Thank you. I feel like I should own this couch. I've been here enough. Yeah,
You've been here a couple times.
Been here a couple times. Yeah, it's good.
So you have some exciting things coming up if you want to share those just to kick our
let's talk
episode off. You've been business and everything.
Yeah, it's funny. This September of this year will be my 30th anniversary of being in the financial services field, and this November will be my 20th anniversary of being independent. And we decided what better way to celebrate than go out and buy a big building.
Right.
So we are actually going to be moving to our new location the second week in September on Giant City Road over in Carbondale. So anytime you're at Kroger's, just swing by and say hi.
For sure. And you're closer to Marion, so maybe we'll make our way
we are,
over.
yeah.
So you're going to get asked more to come on our podcast.
My Marion clients and Carterville clients are celebrating. They really like this one. Yeah.
Well, it's really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
John.
We're excited.
I'm excited to see the new space.
Yeah.
So I got an email from you the other day, a mass email. I'm sure it wasn't just to me, about some changes.
Just sent it to you.
Some changes with the IRA distribution rules.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to lob it to you and you tell me what that means.
Okay. Long story, really short. If we can talk about how things used to be, the good old days of inheriting IRAs. Up until the past few years, if someone passed away and you were a beneficiary on an IRA, you could, the term we like to use, you could stretch out how long you could take that money out. So it would literally be 20 or 30, 40 years that you could stretch the money out, that you could draw just a little bit at a time if you wanted. You could always take more, but the required minimum was pretty small. And a few years back, the federal government and their wonderful way of working things decided that that's not what we want to do. If you inherit an IRA, and there's a couple of exceptions. If you're under the age of 21, there's a mild exception, and if you're a spouse, there's an exception. If you have certain special needs, there's some exceptions. But really, for 95% of the non-spouses that inherit an IRA, you now have a 10-year window to get the money out. And okay, so why is that important? Well, the government didn't want to wait for their money any longer. They didn't want to wait 20 or 30 years to collect the taxes that you would pay when you take those distributions. So they've tightened that window up dramatically. We were kind of hoping with this last big, beautiful bill that there might be something to kind of go back to the good old days, but that's just not going to happen. So yeah, people who have IRAs, who inherit an IRA rather, need to make sure that they're following the proper protocol for how to get that money out and when.
And I guess my next question would be, what would be an advantage of prolonging that? So it used to be 30, 40 years or however long it took to take that money out or distribute the whole amount.
Right.
What is the advantage to doing something like that rather than the 10-year?
Well, the biggest advantage is it's tax control for two reasons. Number one, if it's a traditional IRA that you've inherited, more than likely there have been no taxes paid on that at all. So you end up, you have to pay taxes, but in years past when you could just take out maybe 3 or 4% and leave the rest to continue growing tax deferred, you could grow that money faster and take advantage of tax deferral longer. In a Roth IRA, they're applying the same rules. So before, if you inherited a Roth, you could again stretch, and when you stretch that out, it's tax-free earnings and tax-free growth forever.
Which
now
the government don't want that.
No. So now even on the Roth IRAs, they tighten that down to a 10-year window. And people say, well, okay, so it's tax-free. What's it matter? Well, when it's out of the Roth, you're probably going to be reinvesting that into something that will generate either capital gains or dividends or income. And the government will again start to collect tax on that.
So this change with the 10-year, this is happening on a traditional IRA, individual retirement account, so everyone knows. Traditional IRA and a Roth IRA?
And a Roth IRA too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it affects everything. And in 2025, the IRS finally gave some clarity, because for the last couple of years, they said you had to take it out in 10 years. Okay. Does that mean I can wait 9 years, 11 months, and 3 weeks and then just cash it all in if I want to?
You lump some of it?
Or do I have to take out 1/10 every year, or what is it? And they weren't really providing a lot of clarity. Imagine that they didn't think through a rule before initiating it. And then they finally came out this year and said, yeah, you've got to take out a chunk every year, and yeah, you're going to pay penalties if you don't.
So so that's what it is. You have to take out.
You got to take out. There's a schedule, and again, you can work with your bank or your financial advisor, wherever your institution is that holds the investments for you. They will walk through and tell you exactly what you need to do. So you don't have to. I guess if you're a do-it-yourself person, you could run the calculations on the single life expectancy and the joint life expectancy and yada yada yada. But for the most part, we let the computers take care of that.
So you mentioned a few people that were excused, I suppose, from this.
Excluded. Uh-huh.
Excluded. That's a better word, John. Thank you. You're such a smart financial advisor.
No.
So will you kind of go through those one more time?
Sure. Well, if it's a spouse that's inheriting,
okay,
a spouse has two of the same options that they've always had, which is you can roll it over into your own IRA. So if husband passes, it can just roll into the wife's IRA.
No tax implications with that. It just all moves over.
Not a taxable event. It just all moves over and then kind of consolidate things.
Taxable event. I like that. I'm going to start using that word now.
Taxable event.
That's
good. Tax trigger. All kinds of fancy words.
Okay.
Or if the spouse wants to, they can roll it into a beneficiary IRA as well. Where that might come into play is, let's say, because there are penalties if you take out distributions before 59 and a half in a traditional IRA. So if a husband dies at 44 years old, and if the wife is 44 and just rolls it into her IRA, that's fine. That's permissible. But if she takes any distributions before 59 and a half, there's a penalty. If the spouse elects to open a beneficiary IRA, you can then access that account before age 59 and a half. You still have to pay taxes, but there's no penalties for the early distribution. So it all depends on everyone's situation and age and all those kinds of things.
Circumstances, yeah.
But for the most part, spouses, if they want, they can elect to just say, roll it into mine, and we'll keep on keeping on.
So they're kind of free from the 10 years, right?
Yeah, in that scenario, yes,
okay.
They are. Yeah. Now, if they choose to go with a beneficiary IRA,
then they're not free from the 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to look that up afterwards. Just about, I'm 99% sure on that, but okay. I'll look that up afterwards.
Because that brings up a bunch of questions for me too. Mm-hmm. Is like, how do you know when you're setting up your IRA that it's a beneficiary IRA, or is that something when you set up an IRA you just have beneficiaries, and then when you pass it turns into a beneficiary?
You nailed it. That's
know what I mean?
No, that's exactly what it is. When you open your IRA, you have either a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. The term beneficiary IRA only kicks in when the owner of the IRA passes and assets get distributed to the beneficiaries that are named on the IRA. When that happens, the recipient, like if mom passes away and son is one of the beneficiaries, he can't just roll it into his IRA. Because it has different rules about distributions, it has to go into a beneficiary IRA. So that's the beneficiary IRA is only created on the passing of the original account owner.
Okay. That makes sense then.
Yeah. No, that's a good question.
So with a child, it's really your only option is to get a beneficiary. Say the word.
Beneficiary. IRA.
IRA.
Yeah.
But if you're a spouse, you have two options.
Yes.
You
correct.
can be beneficiary IRA, or you can roll it into yours.
A Benny. We'll call it a
Benny.
Yeah.
Benny.
I don't know why I'm having such a hard time
We
saying
say
that
that word
word.
a lot.
I just kind of
Ashley.
made it up. So
Benny.
we can run with it. It's a Benny.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So if you're listening, if you're a spouse, you got two options. If you're a kid or anyone else,
Yeah.
No,
hopefully Jill leaves me some money. Maybe
yeah.
I'll get a beneficiary IRA for now.
Exactly. So, I mean, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but the IRS just kind of provides some clarity on this as well. Let's say the person that inherits it is a minor.
Right.
That's 15, 16 years old. Mm-hmm. The rule now is they've got 10 years to take the money out, but they can wait until they're 21. So they get a little bit of a deferral, but then at age 21, they have to start taking money out and follow the Benny distribution
So clock
rules.
starts ticking at 21.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So
But they
until
could take
31.
it out. They could take it out before 21.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, the whole rule or the whole concept, if we think about it, is the IRS. Or I blame the IRS. They're just enforcing the rule that the federal government established. The government's saying we want to collect some. We want to collect some taxes. So here's the most you can wait. Here's the longest you can wait to get the money out. If you inherit it and want to cash it out right away, you can. And that really leads to a neat discussion about just inheritance in general that we can cover a little later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that because I have so many questions about that. But I also, your tax based on the first amount of income that you get taxed on is a certain percentage, and then it gradually increases. So if somebody's making up to the higher end of that, or that inheritance draw could bump them up a tax bracket, that would be maybe a reason why they would want to speak to an advisor or maybe change amount that they withdraw.
Yeah, because you bring up a good point. There is a lot of tax strategy that goes into becoming a beneficiary, whether it's it's an IRA or insurance policy, just inheritance of other assets. There's a lot of tax planning that goes into place, and what we do frequently is we take a look at someone's tax situation, and let's say they are just barely into the 15%, the 12% tax bracket, rather. And we know they've got a lot of room that they can take money out and still be in the 12% bracket. That's what we call the marginal tax rate. That might be a compelling reason for someone to take much more than the minimum out of a beneficiary IRA because they're not going to bump up their tax bracket at all. They can still pay at that same tax rate and get the money moved into something else. So yeah, you want to try to be tax aware when making these kinds of decisions.
Yeah.
This may be a very obvious or dumb question, but why would you take out, if you have this, because we love compounding interest, John.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've got 10 years, why wouldn't we be taking as little and little and little every year for the 10 years as possible to make sure, because that money's still being invested, correct?
Sure. Yeah, well, there's a number of reasons that you could look at. Number one might be maybe you're in a relatively low income situation right now,
and you need the income.
And well, you need the income, or let's say that you're in the 12% bracket, but that hey, I might be getting a job later that might bump and it might push me up into the 22% bracket. Well, if I've got this beneficiary IRA now, maybe it makes sense to pull a little bit more out.
Gotcha. Because
this is my last chance to pay it at the 12% rate. Not to get morbid, but when you have a spouse pass away, you've got access to that joint filing, tax bracket for a brief period of time. You might want to front end some distributions and take advantage of the fact that, hey, right now, because we're the amount of money we're making as a married couple, I'm in the 12% bracket, but when I have to start filing taxes as a single, my same income is going to cost me 22% in taxes.
Okay.
Let's get some out now. So there's all kinds of
strategy.
Yeah, it gets a little, you can get in the weeds and it gets wonky,
Yeah.
but the biggest mistake is to just receive something and say, I'm going to do this without walking through the what ifs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's so many different scenarios and so many different circumstances that people are in. And yeah, it's like, what if I am going to get another job, or, you never know what kind of different incomes might come in on top of that bump you up. You just don't know.
Well, and and then you get into, you get into a number of things as far as, how your income affects your Medicare premiums if you're a retiree. Depending on where you fall out, the Social Security, some people are now not going to be paying income taxes on Social Security as a result of the big, beautiful bill. But some still are. So there's all kinds of things that you need to look at when you get an inheritance, and part of it is in an IRA. Just sticking to the minimum amount possible isn't always the best solution. It really just depends on your situation.
So we mentioned the spouse, and then we talked about the underage, and then the third one you mentioned, there's an exemption for the third group of people with a disability.
Yeah, disability.
Okay. And so no matter your age, a disabled person might be able to take that out a longer term.
You can, I think it's what's the term, ECB. You become you fall under a different set of rules if you meet one of those criteria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
People who are planning, or maybe, grandparents or even parents who are planning to leave retirement to their kids, or any type of accounts, like, what's your best piece of advice for them right now? Or maybe that's a loaded question, but maybe just specifically around this topic, like.
Yeah. Well, they might need to rethink their strategy a lot more with this new stuff coming up.
And a lot of things come into play. A lot of people, I've had people come in and say in their will they want to leave X dollars to this charity and X dollars to that charity, and doing different things. And then they leave the kids on as beneficiaries on the IRA. Well, when the kids inherit that IRA, they're going to, if it's not a Roth, they're going to pay taxes on that. If a charity is named as the beneficiary on the IRA, the charities don't pay taxes. So if I'm a child, I'd rather get the CD at the bank with my name on it and the IRA with the charity name on it. To some, not necessarily all of it. It all depends on the situation, but there are definitely strategies that we've talked through and walked through with clients that, hey, if you're really, your heart, you're generous, you're wanting to recognize certain charities when you pass, there are ways that they can inherit those assets that owe a lot in taxes. If an individual were to receive it, if the charity receives it, there's no taxes. So there are definitely ways to structure things or restructure things depending on what you're trying to accomplish or what you want to accomplish.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this one more question that I feel like we can talk more about inheritance, because I think that's so exciting.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you a scenario, John, because you know how I think. So someone, let's say I'm an old woman and I have grandchildren.
Okay.
And I have an IRA that's mine. I've probably been drawing from it, correct?
If you're in your 70s, you've probably been drawing on it, yes.
So what's maybe a better situation? I cash out and just before I pass, give it to, let's say I'm well off, right? I keep adding this scenario, and I cash out. Yeah. I'm like, I'm just going to give this to my kids. Now we might be getting into different states and taxes and I'm gifting you something,
right?
Versus, maybe I should gift something to my grandchildren before I pass, and then it goes to them through this. I don't know. Maybe I'm
it's
that's tax strategy, John.
It's weeds. It's wonky, but it's fun. It's fun to talk about. How nerdy am I? Okay, so what a kind of an example that went through my mind was, let's say we've got a situation where grandma has an IRA. Grandma's health isn't great. The kids are going to be beneficiaries, and let's say that the kids are doing well. They're doing very well. there are a couple of strategies we can look at. One would be, what if grandma converts to a Roth and she pays the taxes on that IRA at a lower bracket, and then the kids inherit a Roth and they don't pay taxes on it? So instead of grandma who's just trying to get by and maybe she's only in the 0 or 10 or 12% bracket, mm-hmm. and the kids are in the 22+% bracket, convert it while it's still in grandma's name to a Roth, let her pay the taxes. You can structure that however you want, but taxes get paid on that money at 12%. It then goes into a Roth, and the kids inherit it and don't pay any taxes at the 22 or
at their
30,
higher bracket.
At their high bracket. So there's that. And again, it gets back to let's look at grandma's tax bracket, and if she's got lots of room in the 12% bracket still, maybe she doesn't want to convert. Maybe she does take a distribution, mm-hmm. and gifts it to the kids, and she paid at her rate. The kids get it tax free because it's a gift. Now again, asterisk.
Right,
There's exceptions to everything, but you're right in thinking.
Maybe there's a better way to do it than to just leave it as beneficiary when the gift could have been better.
Yeah. And you bring up the point. I had a situation where, actually it was a friend of mine who talked about something, mentioned that, well, hey, we've got the oldest child as the beneficiary, and we'll let the oldest child figure out how to split it up between everybody else. Well, that creates a heck of a tax burden on the older child, because the IRS views it as it's now all your money. If you're then going to give some to the other kid, the siblings, it's a taxable distribution coming out of your account. So I would just encourage anyone to sit down and talk to a financial advisor just to kind of get some context of what might feel like common sense, mm-hmm. may not be the best. It may create problems you weren't expecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. You assume everybody, I have an IRA and I have a retirement account. I'm not necessarily working with a financial advisor. And if I were to name beneficiaries right now for my account and they realize that they have this money coming to them, they wouldn't even know about this 10-year thing. So when they're going in to redeem, or I don't even know how that process works, is how do they know how to handle this stuff? Are people do the banks walk them through this? Like, how do people know what to do?
They can. And this is where I think we understand the concept of passing on wealth. We don't realize the importance of passing on wisdom along with it. And that's where, if you're a do-it-yourself person, that's fine. Knock yourself out, but you got to get educated on this. And then, more importantly, and as we get into the kind of the inheritance conversation as well, a little later, there's got to be some good communication between the person who's going to be, passing, is leaving this legacy. If some of that can be communicated beforehand, mm-hmm. it will help avoid a lot of mistakes. And I know for some families that can be an awkward conversation to have, but what's exponentially more awkward is they leave this windfall of money that the kids or the beneficiaries had no idea it was coming. Then you've got the kid that gets it and the kid's spouse, and the kid's spouse maybe has different opinions about what should happen with this money and what should we do with it. And then it becomes this emotional train wreck for mm-hmm. the family, when all the person that passed wanted to leave just a legacy, wanted to leave them better than
take care of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the first fix for all of that is communication, and either getting educated on the topic or working with someone who is educated on the topic to help navigate through that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And life happens so quickly.
Oh yeah.
We're doing some estate planning stuff, and the way our family worked, my uncle, there's 2 brothers. My uncle passed away 2 weeks before my grandmother did. Now all of the children come into play. And so it's, you know, things happen. And so the plan you originally had can change like that. So the more you can.
It can. And simple,
crazy.
but I want to say simple, but important things like, you know, I've got 3 daughters. Yeah. And when something happens to Karen and I, if one of the daughters predeceases us, if you don't take the right steps, everything's going to be split between the other 2 beneficiaries. And then the child that passed away, that family, it just gets erased unless you take proper steps to make sure that, hey, I want to make sure that, you know, if something happens to Karen and I, and anything were to happen, let's say we were in a family trip together and, you know, 3 of the 5 of us died. I want to make sure that we have a term. It's called per stirpes. It's a legal term that means if this person does pass away before me, their bloodline gets my money. So there are critical steps that if you don't address them, even what you think is a well thought out plan could totally backfire just with one step missed. Yeah. I don't be too dramatic, but it can happen.
It's so important. I think about, if one of, like you said, your daughters passed, like, would their spouse get it? Oh, unless you state that, I don't.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think they get what you.
If you just name, beneficiaries and you don't say otherwise, if there were 3 beneficiaries and now there's 2, it's 50-50 instead of a third each. And so if you don't take the right steps, and these are steps that, you know, a lot of people think it's common sense. Well, if I lose a kid, of course I want their family. But if you don't document it well, they don't get it.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're left with the other two kids dealing potentially with nieces and nephews or brother-in-law. And when you get into that quagmire, you mix money with family like that. That's when things can really get out of control.
Yeah. I mean, and this is probably a silly question too, and I'm getting in the weeds with this. Can you do a trust beneficiary of IRAs, or can you not do a trust to be the beneficiary? Would you not want to do that? Would that trigger?
You can. You can. I would say talk to your CPA.
We knew you were going to say that. We go, how many times is John going to say talk to your CPA?
No, but wait, there are situations where a trust is a beneficiary, but it really restricts a lot of the outcomes we've been talking about.
Sounds to me like you got to get your team together and your family together and everybody and talk about it.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
It's never. Nobody says I can't wait to talk about when I die. But too often the opportunities pass for those conversations to happen, and then they don't. And it's not just, I don't want to get hung up on even just the financial aspects of it. When people pass away, they want to leave a legacy. Yeah. And with most families, the legacy has nothing to do with money. It's about stories. It's about, character traits that we want to see in our grandkids and our great grandkids. And here's why this is what happened to me when I was 19 years old. And this is why this is so important to me today. The stories behind the dishes, the stories behind all that's the stuff that the people that remain talk about. They don't talk about the IRA, or are you taking a 10-year distribution, or are you doing 5?
Yeah.
That's not what we talk about. That's
so
not what it is.
Have you taken your distribution this year yet, Alex?
The Thanksgiving conversations get awkward. Yeah. But no, the idea of legacy and what it means, inheritance is so much more than money.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I know you're super passionate about that at Forbes Financial Group. Well, so we'll move away from the death and talk about.
Yeah. Let's talk about, instead of death, let's talk about legacy. To kind of tie it back into the original topic about investments and IRAs and things, Ohio University did a study a while back, and they found that 33% of the people who inherit something squander it within 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
A third of people, when they get an inheritance, squander it within 24 months. It's mind-boggling. I've seen other studies, when they talk about lottery winners, and I think we've all probably heard about this, but it's true. There is a shockingly high percentage of lottery winners that are broke within 5 years. And it all comes back to a lack of understanding and a lack of a plan. It can be out of a heart of generosity. Even there can be someone who inherits something and they see a need with their kids or with their sister's kids or whoever, and they want to help. You need to have a plan before you start doing things like that, because nobody's going to turn down money.
Right.
But a lot of people
and in
will
fact,
show up with
the hands come out, don't they?
Flying out. Yeah, come flying out.
Yeah.
And without the communication that we were talking about earlier, without that communication ahead of time, somebody who, the matriarch passes away, and then there's nothing that will cause a fight faster than money and inheritance and figuring out who gets what. And I've had very well-intentioned clients talk about how, okay, well, I want this child to get 40% and these other two to get 30% for whatever reason it is. It's all well and good, but when they pass away and the kids start figuring out, wait, Janet got more than we did. What it creates this dynamic among the surviving siblings that I've seen that can get just horrible. To rip a family apart over money. And so to get back, Ashley, to your original comment about communication. Yes. But communicate with intention and with a plan. Don't, it's one thing just to communicate, but make sure, have you sat down with your team, your people, and figured out, here's my vision. Here's what I want to happen. And it can include kids. It can include grandkids. It can include charities. In a perfect world, what would I like to see happen? And then draw up that plan and communicate that plan so nobody's surprised. Yeah.
And communication isn't just like, make sure you don't throw all the Comet cans out because I've hidden money there. Or there's some gold coins underneath the fireplace, that kind of stuff. It's really thinking out what you want.
And that's the great thing about legacy is when money is just a part of it instead of the discussion, it makes it so much easier to absorb and understand when it's in the right context. If the conversation and the communication is only, my IRAs are here, my bank accounts are here, the life insurance is here, that's good, but that's not gonna help ensure that the people you love the most are put in the best position possible when you're gone.
And it's already a hard thing after somebody passes to be dealing with that. Oh, yeah. So to ease the burden for your family is another gift of inheritance I believe you can give to somebody.
Well, and this is another hot topic of mine, and you can cut it if you want to, but I'm a huge fan of pre-planned funerals. I'm not a big fan.
Look, Jill's
of
like super
prepaid funerals. Okay. The prepaid funerals, but the pre-planned. What I love about it is it involves a yellow notebook. Yeah. And you jot down, here's the songs I want. Here's who I want to speak. Here's who I want to preach. I want to make sure put me in the closest thing to balsa wood. Don't you spend a lot of money on the gold plated, casket. I don't want Celine Dion performing. I just whatever it is, but you can write all those things down. And as long as the people who need to know, this is in the folder in the library in my top drawer. What's great about it is I can rip that up and tear it up and rewrite it 50 times if I want to, because the whole idea is that the survivors, the family members, all they want to do is honor this person well. That's the main thing. And if they can pull out a sheet of paper and then it's not a big debate about, well, mom said she liked yellow roses. No, she liked lilacs. So she told me if on the paper it says she wants yellow roses, okay, then we know how to honor mom. That's what she wanted.
And you feel better about the decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because those are all decisions, that without that kind of planning are made at the worst possible time. You can be put in a position to make a decision about thousands and thousands of dollars, and my memory against your memory about what dad said he wanted. And or it could be dad told us each a totally different thing. That can happen. But if we can go to the yellow pad and see what was the last thing that he wrote when he was updating this, you see it in his handwriting, then this is what we're doing. I mean, it just makes it so easy.
I have to tell you the story because you'll get a kick out of it. So my husband's mother, when she passed away, gosh, she had it together when she did. And up to the point where she was calling and interviewing her people that she wanted to sing at her wedding on the phone. I remember
at her funeral.
Auditioning over the
phone. She had them auditioning over the phone. So God handed it to her. But man, she knew exactly what she wanted. She was having them interview and sing over the phone for her.
That's hilarious.
But you also talked about like how you communicate about the things that are important in the home. She also did a really good job of, she would write notes and leave them on the special thing. Like she had this copper pot that she stuck a letter in there and she said, this was used to boil water during this and this flood, and this is why I saved it after all these years. Keep this, don't sell it. Keep this.
Well, and situations like that create stories that the family will laugh about for years.
Yeah.
But I'd much rather have them laughing about it for years about, can you believe mom took the time to do this?
Yeah.
Than fighting about who gets what and what was, so just. I love that story. I love that. I don't think you can over communicate. I think there's a much higher risk of under communicating than there is of over communicating.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that statistic that you said, the 33%. Yeah, of people squander it in 24 months. That's crazy. But I believe it. It's very, I see it.
And for the record, just to make more laughs about your family, you told me Tom is adamant that, he wants time
Andrea
Pacello
will be playing
at his funeral. So
okay, that's it. That's
so
a
if
win.
anyone knows it, it's me. All right,
that's a win.
We've got it
Spread
recorded
his
on the
ashes
podcast.
on the point at Lake of Egypt, and Time to Say Goodbye by Andrea Pacello will be playing at my husband's funeral. So.
That is well thought out. That's a good plan.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
This stuff is so important. Jill and I talk about it all the time, and it's like I can't believe how many people It's hard too because like I think about me. I'll be 28 tomorrow. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, happy early birthday.
No, I still feel very young. But I have assets. I have money. I have things that people at 28 pass away all the time, and I'm not going to pass away, John. I'm going to live till I'm 90.
Good.
But being prepared at every single age, regardless of whether you have an IRA or $500 in just your bank account, have the conversations and get prepared. Write things down.
What do they say? The road to where is paved with good intentions. Yeah, I feel like that's what everybody's, and I'm the same way. Yeah. My estate planning could be.
Well, yeah, it's nobody wakes up and says, "I can't wait. Today's the day I'm going to do my estate planning." Yeah, I'm going to.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you went really dark on that. I wasn't going to go that direction.
Okay,
Today's the day I'm going to die. No. Today's the day we're going to plan for dying, or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, most people would rather have a root canal than talk about stuff like this. But the reality is, it's important, and it's not about how awkward you feel about it. It's about how important is it to you that your loved ones are equipped and prepared in the best possible way. And if you love them, take the time to have those conversations.
Yeah. That's so good. So giving advice to somebody who is maybe in the next 10 years inheriting one of these IRAs, or maybe they're in the estate planning, or they're thinking about leaving an inheritance. What are some pieces of advice that, besides the communication thing, that you would give?
It's hard if you're on the receiving end.
Yeah.
It's hard to plan around something that you don't know what it'll be. It could be, what if someone has a stroke and they're in assisted living or a nursing home for 10 years and what you thought was going to be there isn't there. I think if you're in a situation where parents are aging and things might be coming your way, there's nothing wrong with trying to find a way to kind of have that conversation and kind of start that, Mom, Dad, when you go, I just want to make sure we honor you well. And again, money is just a small part of the legacy. I think getting the story right. And if you come to Mom and Dad wanting to make sure you have the story right, rather than where did you say those CDs were at? That has a very different tone as far as the conversation goes. I think the important thing, whether it's a surviving spouse or if it's kids, I think one of the most important things to do is pause when you feel, and whether selling a home. Let's say it's a husband and wife, and wife passes away. The husband's like, I want to sell that. Well, no, let's pause. Let's not make that decision right now. There's a tendency. I'm seeing two schools of thought. I'm seeing some people that just want to deny, and just ignore it. Husband passed away a year and a half ago or whatever it might be, and they're just trying to block it out. I've got other people that, okay, my husband passed away. I want to make sure that I give the kids a lot of money because they're dealing with grief, and I want to try to help them while I'm alive. There's all kinds of, that may be a good idea, may be a horrible idea. As a financial advisor, I always tell people my job is to protect your interests, not your kids. Let's make sure you're good first.
Yep.
And let's pause. Nothing has to happen right now. And sometimes just taking that time out and not just moving because it's that fight or flight. You got to do something. No, you don't. Just sit, pause, plan, and then proceed.
Well, John, this has been very enlightening. I've learned some new terms and I've learned some new things about IRAs, and I'm excited to share what I've learned with the people around me. Yeah. I love talking about these things.
That's good.
If someone, has some questions or wants to come to you for financial advice, or, where can people find you if they want to contact you?
Well, yeah, we have, I call it, it's our 20-minute Ask Me Anything. So there's no cost, no fee. Folks can go online and can contact us through the Forbes Financial website. Give us a call at the office. You can look us up online pretty easily. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, and especially if they'd say, hey, I heard you on Farmers, I might even give them 40 minutes instead.
Wow, what an offer.
Yeah. I
love code Isn't That Rich to talk to John Forbes.
I might be driving to Kroger and taking a ride.
You call in, Carbondale. Hey, I heard you on this podcast.
No, a lot of times, it's first of all, it's just good to have a good conversation. And if I can give somebody a little bit of time, many times in those conversations, the takeaway isn't investing any money. It's, I give them, here are 3 things you need to work on for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And make this important and get these things taken care of. And when you get these things taken care of, then we can talk about what investing might look like. But I want to make sure that the financial foundation is strong. So I'm more than happy to have conversations and a cup of coffee and share a little bit of wisdom.
And you have the best team at Forbes Financial Group.
You
really do. So if you are someone that wants the 20 to 40 minutes with John Forbes, got very lovely staff.
Well, thank you. I'm very, very proud of my team.
Yeah. Well, it's always so fun to have you on, and thank you for being a repeat guest here on our.
It feels like it's got me. I fit in just right. This is beautiful.
And you blew up the last time you were on this podcast. Remember?
Yeah, you went kind of viral.
Election.
I felt like an artist that had like 1 million hits on Spotify, and I get a $3 check.
Yeah.
That's like I went viral, and all I got is I didn't even get a cup of coffee for it.
Right. We'll be sure to ship you a gift afterwards. So
that's right.
I'm kidding.
We have some coffee cups laying around.
I'll just take a mug on the way
That's
out.
good.
We'll
Perfect.
leave
And a
it.
couple pins. Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Good. Well, thanks again for
Yeah,
being
no,
on
you guys
today,
enjoyed it.
John.
Every
I
time
appreciate
enjoyed
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
So, Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.